Some urban legends fade over time, but others refuse to be forgotten. They change. Details shift. But the warning always remains the same. This is one of those stories. They say the rain wakes her, that when the river swells, she stirs, searching, crying, waiting. Most don't believe it. Nico didn't either. Some people move to get away from the noise, others run from something deeper. For Nico, it was both. After losing his wife, the city just felt heavier. Too many memories, too much concrete. So when his daughter Lucia asked if they could go somewhere quieter, somewhere they could breathe again, he knew exactly where to go. Back to the place where he grew up, a small pueblo tucked near the mountains, where the trees lean heavy with shade, and the dirt roads feel like they remember your footsteps. The air smelled like wet earth, rainy season just beginning. Agave plants lined the road like they had always belonged. Fresh tortillas were still sold around the corner, freshly made by hand, just like they always had been. It wasn't perfect, but it was familiar. And for Lucia, it felt safe. The day they moved in, there was a knock at the door. A young man stood on the porch, arms relaxed, smile easy. Moving day's no joke. We've got more than enough food. Come grab a plate. Nico hesitated, glancing past him toward the sound of voices. Oh, I wouldn't want to impose. It looks like you have family over. The man chuckled. Don't you know? Around here, we're all family. His name was Mateo. Dinner was simple. Enchiladas with beans on the side, homemade and coated in the kind of local cheese that only pueblos like this one seem to know how to make. Lucia played with the neighbor kids while the grown-ups passed around plates and stories. As the sun dropped low behind the hills, a breeze picked up, and someone mentioned the canal behind the houses. Dry for most of the year, but quick to flood during the rainy season. Just don't let the kids wander down there after dark, someone joked. Not unless you want La Llorona showing up. A few people laughed, including Nico. Not because he didn't respect the story, but because he'd heard a dozen versions growing up. One older man, quiet most of the evening, shook his head. You shouldn't joke about that. My cousin's boy swears he saw her one night. White dress, crying by the river, just before a flood came through. Another voice joined in. My mama used to say she didn't drown her children on purpose, that she lost them trying to cross, or that the river took them when she turned her back. Mateo shrugged. One version I heard, he added, said she did it for a man, one who didn't want children. She thought losing them meant keeping him, but she lost everything. He paused. Every family tells it different. All I know is, if you hear her crying, you're already too close. The laughter didn't return after that. The next night, Nico stood at the back of the house looking toward the riverbed. No fences, just dry dirt, weeds and stone. But the dirt looked darker than before. Damp, maybe even deeper. The rains had been light so far, but something about it made him pause. Quiet, still. He didn't believe in ghost stories, but he checked Lucia's window twice before going to bed. It started small. Lucia began mentioning a lady she saw outside. Said she was pretty but always looked sad. Said she cried by the water sometimes. She told me she lost her kids, Lucia said once while coloring. She misses them a lot. Nico tried to stay calm, said it was probably just a neighbor. But that night he heard crying, soft, distant, somewhere beyond the houses. He paused by the window. Nothing there, just the wind. A week later, it rained again. Harder this time. The first downpour of the season turned the roads slick and noisy. The canal, though, it filled quick, dark water rushing through like something had been waiting for it. Nico tucked Lucia in early. She'd been sleepier than usual. He stayed up late, sipping coffee, trying to shake the unease that had settled in his chest. Around 2 a.m., he checked her room. Empty. The bed covers were pushed aside. The window was open. He ran outside barefoot, hard in his throat. The rain had let up, but the riverbed still churned with fast-moving water. That's when he saw her. Lucia, standing just past the edge of the road, near the canal. And beside her, a woman, long black hair soaked against her face, a white dress clinging to her frame, her head tilted downward, but her shoulders shook. Not with rage, but with sorrow, the kind that settles into your bones and never leaves. Her sadness wasn't new. It had aged into something deeper, something hollow and endless. Crying. Nico shouted. The woman looked up. Her eyes were black, hollow, endless. He rushed forward without thinking, arms outstretched. Lucia turned toward him just as the woman vanished, like smoke swallowed by mist. He carried her home, drenched and trembling. He didn't look back again. Behind him, a final wail rose, soft, broken, and fading with the rain. She didn't wake up until morning. She remembered nothing. A few days passed. The rain continued. Nico started sleeping on the floor beside her bed. No one in town mentioned what happened. No one had to. But he noticed the neighbors began leaving offerings by the river. Candles, prayers, white flowers weighed down with stones. And sometimes, late at night, he could still hear her. That soft, aching cry. They say she lost her children to the river. Some say she let them go. Others say she tried to hold on, but the current was too strong. And now, she wanders the water, searching, waiting. Sometimes crying, sometimes calling, and sometimes just watching. So if you ever hear weeping near a riverbank during the rainy season, be careful. Because La Llorona never stops grieving, and she never stops looking. Some say it's just an urban legend, but legends have a way of coming back. What do you think? Have you heard a different version?